Hello everyone, it's Max from the English Speaking Hub, and today I'm trying to incorporate new expressions into my active speech. So, the first expression for today is the word gumption. So, gumption can mean two different things. One of them being the intelligence needed to know what to do in a particular situation, and the second one is courage and strength of mind. So the way we're going to do it is this. What might galvanize a person susceptible to mental masturbation to muster the gumption to do something tangible in order to move the needle? So, what might galvanize a person susceptible to mental masturbation? Just dire conditions, right? Like once there is, once there is a certain line that is being like crossed, right? When they understand that the ramifications of mental masturbation are going to be just too far-reaching and things of that nature, they're left with no other option other than to muster the gumption to do something tangible because, doing something that is not productive, um, you know, it's just gonna worsen the situation. So you just have to like ditch it, at least like for the time being, because there is no wiggle room for it. Do you know what I mean? So the second question is this. How can one apply the gumption amidst the seducing amount of uncertainty? Um, well, it's difficult, right? Like we're all, what would you say, like we're all like victims of uncertainty to one degree or another, right? Like nothing is really set in stone, and you shouldn't like expect things not to be in this constant state of flux. So, yeah, like I mean, you have no other choice. Once again, like you just have to apply the gumption, even though the amount of uncertainty might like hamper or hinder you in one way or another. So just do what you have to do, come what may, and at some point, it's going to yield certain results. They're not, they might not be like the best ones there, but they're definitely, better than, if you kind of like juxtapose it against a situation where you wind up being paralyzed by this seducing amount of uncertainty. Can you think of a time when you had to employ your gumption to overcome a significant challenge? um, when I had to employ my gumption. So, I mean, well, I wouldn't say it was gumption, but sometimes, you know, when I was practicing arm wrestling, you know, a certain amount of intelligence or gumption was required. So, uh, when I wasn't able to defeat a person using this or that move, I was trying to tap into my creativity and employ my gumption simultaneously. So during like one of my competitions, I was able to overcome a significant challenge, which which was quite, you know, what would you say, like fulfilling. Why don't some people have the gumption to ask for a raise? I mean, they don't have the gumption because they're way too like risk aversive, right? Like I'd probably chalked up to this. Like there is this fear, and they're kind of like they're more prone to being agreeable. So like that's why negotiations for this kind of people like who don't have enough gumption to apply or deploy, um, you know, is is a tall order essentially. So how come some people don't have the gumption to own up to their mistakes? So once again, like I would put it down to their egos, and that's why they just can't resign themselves to the fact that they made a mistake. That's why owning up to their mistakes is such a difficult thing for them. Hello, hello, my name is Max. This channel is called Max Romanovich, which is actually my name, as you probably might have guessed. So the thing is, I'm practicing English pronunciation and things of that nature. The thing that I've noticed is that, when I want to actually get better at English rhythm, the thing that I should be doing is just behaving as if, you know, what would you say, like, as if I was some kind of a neurotic, right? Like, just a mental, psychotic individual of some sort, right? Because otherwise, I'm just too, like, relaxed, too laid back for an English language, right? Like, in Russian, for instance, like, everything is so monotonous and kind of, like, repetitively tedious, right? Like, it's very boring, especially if you got used to like listening to native English speakers. It might be so difficult for you to kind of like wrap your mind around like how come people speak this way. But the thing is, it's actually quite normal, and if you're a native Russian speaker, you kind of get desensitized to this boredom, right? Like that you, and I don't know, like the soporific effect that it has on you pretty quickly. So, that's not to say like that, every Russian speaker is boring, but the tempo, the flow of their speech definitely is. So, I'm trying to integrate new expressions into my active speech while at the same time trying to get the hang of rhythm, right? So the expression for today is to blow something out of proportion. Why might looking at problems through anxiety tinted glasses make people blow them out of proportion? Um, so there is a laundry list of different factors that you can chalk it up to. One of them being when you're, when what would you say, like when you're an emotionally driven, right? Like especially if you look at things like not necessarily problems, right? Through anxiety tinted glasses, your ras- rational thinking, it's kind of like compromised. Do you know what I mean? So, a much more preferable option for you would be to kind of like simmer down, like blow off the steam, just go to the gym, pump weights, and all that jazz, and only then make a decision as to what you're gonna do next, right? So this approach combined with, I don't know, like probably seeking advice from people who are equipped with enough like knowledge and expertise to give you, um, sounds like a perfect recipe for success in this case. Whereas looking at problems through anxiety tinted glasses makes you more susceptible and renders you kind of like more prone to catastrophizing stuff, like blowing it out of proportion. In what ways does blowing hypothetical scenarios out of proportion contribute to unproductive overthinking? Yeah, I mean, it's a form of mental masturbation in a way, right? So the reason it is unproductive is because, entertaining different, situations that might come out of, your decision, for instance, and blowing them out of proportion. I mean, it masquerades itself as something productive, but it doesn't produce anything tangible per se, right? Like you fritter away a great deal of your time pretending as if you're doing something fruitful, but in fact, once again, like 9 times out of 10, you wind up not capitalizing on things that you probably should have capitalized on. And yeah, like that's kind of like the crux of the problem. How does social media encourage people to blow trivial matters out of proportion and engage in mental masturbation? Okay, social media, right? I mean, social media is designed in a way that, kind of like maximizes engagement. And there are always some freaks and idiots on the internet that are gonna, you know, kind of like evoke a certain type of emotions, whether it be something cringe-inducing, shame-inducing, sometimes jealousy and envy. Can you know kind of like stem from from certain from watching certain videos on the internet or just scrolling through your Instagram feeds or whatever, right? So all of this social engineering techniques and strategies that are being adopted are kind of aimed at extracting as much value from you as it is feasible for these platforms. So that's kind of what I boil it down to. How come some people are self-effacing while others tend to blow their contributions out of proportion? We're all wired differently. You once again we're also raised in different environments, right? Like some are more conducive to being self-effacing, timid, taciturn, like and generally it's more propitious for not standing out from the crowd essentially, right? And while others tend to what would you say just more mm, while others have this tendency to blow their importance, contributions, and what have you out of proportions because that's what they were incentivized to do, or that's what they have a natural knack for, right? So yeah, I mean, there are some differences, right? Like in personality that a lot of people have. What's the most viable way to stop blowing setbacks out of proportion and sabotaging yourself as a result? Have you ever grappled with it? Um, so, what's the viable way? Probably just making yourself as flexible and adaptable as it is humanly possible, right? So, irrespective of the situation, you should be confident in your abilities to deal with the friction, right? That comes your way. Certain setbacks, they're inevitable. And, if flexibility is your kryptonite, then you're definitely gonna, what would you say, be hampered by them more frequently, if not derailed entirely. Yeah, just trying to what would you say, switch things up every now and again, um, and kind of come up with some sort of a buffer against this, stress-inducing ideas and this proclivity to blow things, including setbacks out of proportion, is probably the best way to deal with it. And fingers crossed, touch wood, after having done that, you will, stop, self-sabotaging yourself. I personally grappled with it, and I still do. So, you know, don't what would you say, place too much or attach a great deal of importance on my advice. It's just my personal take, and being an idiot that I am, I believe that my opinion might change over the years. But at this juncture, it feels like the most prudent strategy or tactic that I personally would tap into